Terence Crawford wants Errol Spence next, but Jaron Boots Ennis might have beat him to the punch. Who would you support? It's your boy Cardinal Red Sports. Let's talk about it. Alright, y'all. So the big homie Boots will be fighting this weekend. And what's on everybody's mind is not this weekend's fight, but what's going to come after this weekend's fight. Will Jaron Boots Ennis finally get his shot at one of the big dogs? Terence Crawford or Errol the Truth Spence Jr.? And I think most people are leaning toward that Spence Jr. fight more than the Crawford fight. Jaron Boots Ennis has voiced his opinion, saying that he felt like Errol Spence was holding up the division. Not only Errol Spence, but Terence Crawford as well. And they're doing it by ducking him specifically. Now, my question here is, who would you support in this situation? Would you support Terence Crawford fighting Boots more than you would support Errol fighting Boots? Or would you support Errol fighting Boots more than you would support Crawford fighting Boots? And I say that because I think one of those two fights are going to happen next. Now, I know Thurman's on a lot of people's mind. You know, Thurman most likely in a lot of people's mind will be Errol Spence's next opponent because of what the WBC ordered. Officially, that fight is supposed to happen next. But this is the sport of boxing. You can receive step-aside money in the sport of boxing. It happens all the time. So let's not set the Keith Thurman versus Errol Spence Jr. fight in stone just yet. Is that more than likely to happen? I think it's more than likely to happen. And if that fight does happen, I think there's less likely of a chance of a Terence Crawford fight happening in 2023 and more of a chance of Spence fighting Boots at the end of 2023. Now, who would you support more? Who would give the better fight out of those two fighters? Would Terence Crawford give Boots the better fight, or would Errol Spence give Boots the better fight? I think that's interesting. I think both of those fights are at play at this point, because if you're Terence Crawford, you're looking for a good name to match up with, somebody who's going to be available pretty soon, because around May, June, July, you can expect for Terence Crawford to be getting back in the boxing ring if he's smart. He said he wanted to go to 3 fights a year. He had one already. He could fight again in June, July, and then fight one more time at the end of the year around Christmas time if he wanted to. Will Terence Crawford pick Boots Ennis to be his next opponent? I think Crawford doesn't have as many options as Errol the Truth Spence Jr., but he has some pretty good options on the table. Now, Manny Pacquiao is looking to make his return to the sport of boxing. Will Pacquiao go for an actual professional fight, or will he stay in the realm of exhibitions? I think is the question on everybody's mind. And he is allowing for Rizin to pick his next opponent, which is crazy. Like, he doesn't even know who his next opponent is going to be. He has no say-so in it. So we could get a surprise out of that. Perhaps Rizin can come up with some money for a Floyd Mayweather fight. Who knows, you know, or maybe they can come up with some money for Terence Bud Crawford. Perhaps Terence Bud Crawford gets another $10 million to fight Manny Pacquiao this summer. Wouldn't that be amazing? Because I say that because Pacquiao offered him $10 million about 2 years ago, and Team Crawford turned it down. What would have been his biggest payday up until that point, but he actually took that money for a David Anese fight. So is $10 million good enough for Terence Crawford now? We don't know. That fight could potentially happen in the summer of 2023. As far as Crawford and Boots, would he be willing to fight Boots next over a Manny Pacquiao fight? Because Boots would not come with a $10 million payout is the problem. I think that would be the problem for Spence and Crawford, but Spence to a lesser extent, because Boots is his mandatory, and they have given Errol Spence a limited amount of time to take on Boots or be stripped of the IBF title. So I think there's a shot that Terence Crawford might fight him, but I think it would be less likely than the Errol Spence fight. Now, if they did actually fight, who would win? Who would you guys pick to win out of those two? Me personally, I think that they're very similar fighters, but I think Boots possesses more speed, and Boots possesses a notch above Terence Crawford on the power scale. Boots has had, I believe, 29 fights, and 26 of those, I believe, have come by knockout. Terence Crawford's record is nowhere near that, and nowhere near that impressive. Now, most people would say, well, that's because Boots has been fighting bums and nobodies for the majority of his career so far. And I would say he made some up-and-coming good fighters look average. And he did it 26 times in a row. So, I mean, what more could you ask from the guy? You know, you can only fight who they put in front of you. And I think if they put Crawford or Spence in front of Boots, you're going to see some very similar things happen in the boxing ring. Now, what is going to win out is Boots' experience enough to trump Terence Crawford's experience? Terence Crawford's 34 years old. Boots is 25. Now, Crawford might be 35. Don't get me the line. He's either 34 or 35. But Boots definitely has the advantage in the age category and the youth category. So I think that Boots would definitely be able to carry Terence Crawford throughout the fight as far as keeping up with his pace and maybe even setting the pace, because he, once again, has the youth. It would definitely come down to ring IQ and experience. Is Boots' 28 or 29 fights enough experience to carry him past Crawford, along with his speed and amazing power in punching? Plus, he's a switch hitter, so, you know, there would be a lot of fireworks in that fight because both guys do similar things. I would definitely ride with Boots to win. Now, when it comes to Errol Spence, I think that would be a little more of a difficult fight. Errol Spence has power to match Boots' power, but I've always believed Errol Spence's Achilles heel is speed. If you put a speed fighter in front of Errol Spence, who does everything very ploddingly and very methodically and very slowly, then I think it would throw his rhythm off. And if you can do that in conjunction with angles and combinations, I think that's what beats Errol Spence. Now, Boots doesn't possess Manny Pacquiao's speed. I think Manny Pacquiao's speed is what it would take to beat Errol Spence. But I think he possesses a notch above Terence Crawford's speed. I think the Boots speed, along with his power and switch hitting, would give him enough to carry him past Errol Spence. But being that Errol Spence, once he gets on the inside, can deliver vicious power, we would have to see how Boots handles his power in the first 3 to 4 rounds. If Errol Spence can hurt him within the first 3 to 4 rounds, I would give that fight to Boots all day long. Y'all let me know what y'all think about that down in the comment section below. Who will get the fight? Will it be Errol Spence or Terence Crawford? And who would you support more? And who wins? It's your boy Cardinal Red. Holler at me on all social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter. More than likely to get a response on the tube, so holler at me over there. And we are Nine Hands.
Cause I represent that 5-0. Two niggas in the Ville, don't get grills, the rest of them, boy. Trunks with noise, big purple bags without the crown royal. I know I sound loyal to the L.O. You niggas is ignorant, ridiculous, inconsiderate, deliberate. Start beef, then finish it. Death threats are legitimate. It's no coincidence if you're feeling this. No witnesses, even though it was swole when we did the lick. Got churches right next door to businesses that'll stack big bread off of simple shit like crack, weed, pills, etc. Stack these bills of cheddar from repetitive acts of selling the sedatives to your strangers and relatives. It's dangerous and negative. Down in the 5-0. Too many haters think you will be a players ain't gon' bust you. Hell, you niggas better duck, you bitches better duck, cause I represent the 5-0. Too many haters think you will be a players ain't gon' bust you. Hell, you niggas better duck, you bitches better duck, cause I represent the town where they born to hate. so it ain't safe if you got enormous weight. Baby mamas is up under the normal age, but it's a normal place, catching enormous case. Where the cops handcuff you, put a blow to your face and pull, squeeze it firm and leave you squirming.